Three. So I'm gonna get this going because I know Al has a lot to say. If we haven't met, my name is Nancy Spooner. I'm founder of Tempo Live Events. Um, I'm a show caller by trade and event producer and deck manager, and Tempo was my side hustle when I realized I got a lot of my friends' work. And 18 years later, it is now my full-time job, and my side hustle is calling shows and deck managing shows. We do this monthly meetup. It's morphed. It started as a happy hour during COVID when we all lost our jobs, and it morphed into a think tank where we started sharing with each other back in COVID how we're going to survive the pandemic, how to call shows from home, what is vMix. Um, we had presenters, people come in even from Zoom telling us how to use the Zoom and how to use like the Zoom software and backrooms and all this stuff. Anyway, it's um it's been on now, so this is like our sixth year of the Tempo think tank. It's now monthly instead of weekly like it used to be, which is fine. My whole purpose of it is just to help you be better freelancers, help us all be better freelancers, whether that's learning what business entity you should be, how to brand yourself, bookkeeping boot camp. We have a whole library of these think tanks that we record and we save and post on our YouTube channel. So if you haven't been around that long and you want to go check out our YouTube channel, you'll find a lot of these think tanks up there. They're very informal. They're not a webinar. They're Q&A. They are very interactive. Um, Today, I'll let you just decide how we want to do this, but in terms of Q&A and interaction and stuff like that. Before we get started, I also want to introduce to you, if you haven't met Barb Brodowski is my sister, and she runs operations for Tempo. So she's the one that's, sending out the contracts and keeping in touch with you and keeping your files up to date, your insurance policy, stuff like that. A little clap from Kate. And then Al Bashara is my husband. None of us have the same last name. It's weird. My last name is Bashara, but Spooner's my branded show name. So I'm kind of like, celebrity. I have two names. So Al's my husband, and he's super smart. He's bought and sold and invested in businesses. He's a startup guy. He's an entrepreneur, and he's COO of Tempo. So he runs all of our back end, our website and analytics and stuff like that. So we were talking, somebody posted in the Slack channel, hey, why don't we have another meeting about AI? Because clients are starting to ask us what we know. And for most of it's I know how to ask questions. I didn't know how to write emails using AI. But there's a whole nother layer. There's a whole lot of other layers. Al's going to take us past Chat GPT 101 and get us a little deeper in how to use it to actually get tasks done for us. So I'm going to mute. I'm going to hand it over to Al. We share an office, so he's right there. So I'm going to mute myself and let him take it from here. Go get him, Al.
Yeah, it's a fake wall. It's a little deceiving. Um, Good to see everybody here. Excited to do this talk. Yeah, I feel like it was a year ago we did the last one, so a lot has changed, and so we're gonna learn quite a few things. The survey you did, thanks to those of you who filled it out, it really sort of showed that we have a wide range of people that have a wide range of understanding and skills and abilities, and so we decided to break it up into two kind of things. This one is going to be focused on taking it past just the Q&A that you may do and actually get the agents to actually do some work automatically. So a few of you are using ChatGPT, some of you are using Claude and Grok and Copilot and whatever other tools you're using. And like I said, many of you are asking questions and you'll get an answer and then you kind of rinse and repeat. Some of you are doing a little bit more than that. But back in January, something called OpenClaw came out, and it actually woke up every few minutes and tried to do work for you that hadn't finished. It kind of ran in what's called a loop. It had memory of conversations. It knew what you were working on previously, but it was super clunky. It's very tech heavy, insanely hard to use. Some other tools have come since then trying to do something similar, but a little easier, right? Claude released Cowork, ChatGPT released Work. There's Google Gemini Spark, but there's also Grokbot that just came out. There's another thing called Buzz and Hermes Agent and Hyper Agent, which you may see ads for all the time. Most of you are on Claude and ChatGPT, and that's probably the right place for everybody to be living right now. They're easily the most mature, and they do very similar things. And today's goal is to kind of get past that just asking questions. Our job here today is to truly delegate repetitive work and then automate it so that you never have to even initiate it again. We're actually going to build a product today that does just that, live, real time, and everything. So, from our surveys, more of you are familiar with ChatGPT than Claude. So I'm going to build it using ChatGPT Work. For those of you that are using Claude, Cowork is almost identical in capability and features. They're very similar, very identical systems, subtly different methods of doing things. So you're going to be fine, and you'll be able to take this and leverage it on your side as well. Quickly, for those that may be wondering, what is the difference between, say, ChatGPT and Claude and this work or this co-work thing? ChatGPT is essentially kind of Q&A, right? You ask it questions, you get answers, you've got a long chat history, you can have a conversation. There's some other bells and whistles and files and things you can attach and stuff like that. But the big jump with work and co-work is that things become a lot more autonomous. So you may ask ChatGPT work or Claude co-work a really complicated question. It's going to build a checklist, a to-do list of things, an execution plan that it needs to follow. And it could take it a couple hours to complete it, depending on how complicated it is. Maybe it has to pull a file from here. It has to go research a bunch of topics on the web, and then it has to collate all that and put it into a Google Doc for you in some format that you've requested or whatever that may be. In short, it's also, some other things it can do. Can use local files if you want to connect it to your computer. As mentioned, it can connect in external systems, which we're going to do today. It can schedule tasks to run, which we're going to also do today. It's, you may have heard of ChatGPT Codex or Claude's Code. This is what developers have been using for years now, a good couple of years now, to write software. This ChatGPT Work and Claude Cowork are built on the exact same system. The only difference is Work is built more for work-related outputs, and Code or Codex is built more to generate software. But they're leveraging the same intelligence, and they're both very, very powerful. So what we're doing today, we're going to verge on kind of writing code and software. That would be the next logical step. We're not going to quite get there, but we're sort of getting a taste of it today. So what are we going to build? I chose something that's simple, that we can all relate to, that we can do within the hour here, and it can actually add real value. So we all go to meetings. Some of us take notes in various ways, on paper, through a note-taking app. Some of us get transcriptions today when our meetings are over. Some of us get a meeting summary when our meeting is over. Most of us, I would guess, don't ever look at those transcriptions or summaries again. We don't take action from them. We never query what happened in that meeting from a few weeks or months or years ago. We're going to build a system that automatically finds any new transcripts. It summarizes them in a way that is actually useful to us. So we're going to customize that summary. It's going to produce notes, and it's going to put them in our note-taking app. It's going to put to-dos in our task list, and it's going to allow you to have a conversation with any of those meetings in the future. Historically, I personally have been a copious note taker. I am the guy who is typing away a million miles an hour on every call because I don't remember everything that well. So I want those notes so that I can call back to them later. Since I built this system, so I built one that's much more complicated for myself compared to what we're going to do in the time we have today, but I don't take notes anymore. I'm fully present in meetings. I am paying attention. I am engaging instead of trying to figure out what I should be typing at that moment. And I have the ability to have a conversation with any of my previous meetings that I've ever had. So as we're going through this build, don't just think about this particular process and this tool that we're going to create. Think about any processes that you do repetitively or frequently. Think about any of the tools or technology that you use that you could connect to. And more importantly, think about how you can make AI do the actual work and do it automatically. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here real quick. And we're going to make this bigger. Bear with me. Okay. So we're going to use a couple of tools here today. First one, I'm going to use the assumption that I am using Google Meet for my meetings. When it does transcripts, it dumps them in this Meet recordings folder. We're going to connect to this drive automatically, extract these transcripts as they come in, and we're going to use that for our meeting source. For note taking, I'm going to use a product called Craft. It's very nice and elegant, and you'll get to see it. It does docs and tasks and calendar and all kinds of unique things. It's very, very simple and easy to use. And so those are the tools we're going to build upon today. But I do want to say that, and you'll see, you can do this with nearly any tool you're using, right? It's probably supported, or you can build for it. Maybe you use Notion for your notes and tasks or something else. Maybe use a different meeting transcriber or summarizer. Odds are you're going to be able to connect to that in a very, very similar way. So I've done some of the easy stuff up front, which we'll walk through and I'll show you guys in a bit, so that we're not sitting here watching an agent think the entire time. But we are going to do some live stuff, and then we can do some Q&A while we're waiting for the live stuff to sort of process. I'm going to kind of walk you through how you might eventually build a product on your own, right? Because step one is probably you're going to do it manually, and then you're going to realize you can probably improve it, and you're going to do that. And then you can decide, hey, I'm going to delegate more to the agent and have it do more work. And then you might decide to automate it. That's the exact flow I'm going to kind of walk you through here today. So before I get started, anybody have any like super quick clarifying questions on what we're going to be doing here today?
I do.
If not, yes, go
I
for it.
do. Melissa does.
Go
Are
for it.
you using ChatGPT, the free version or Pro?
I'm using Pro, but the majority of the stuff here you can do with well, you probably need a paid version to do some of this stuff. I haven't actually used the free version to test, but
Okay.
once you start automating this stuff, the time savings is well worth. I'm actually on the $200 version because I write software and I do all kinds of other stuff too. But the $20 version can get you really, really far. You can do a lot with it. So step one of this, hey, let's summarize our meeting notes, is to ask it for a simple request. This is probably what, if you've ever done this, you would do. You attach, and again, some of these I've already done. You've attached the file. This is the transcript from Google Drive, and you say, please summarize this meeting. You get an executive summary, some key points, a bunch of information, maybe some action items and all this stuff. And that's great. The challenges here is each time you do it, the format's going to be completely different. Sometimes it's going to run better than others. You're going to look at this one and think, wow, that was amazing. Well done. And then 2 weeks from now, you're going to do another one and it's going to miss half the meeting. It's not going to be solid. It's just going to be a terrible summary. And on top of that, all of these are going to be scattered throughout your ChatGPT interface in random chats, and you're never going to be able to research or dig into them again without manual hunting and trying to find it. It's just going to be difficult to do. So let's do something a little bit better. So we're going to Nance.
I have a question. This meeting summary, is this something like from Zoom? Like this think tank, the meeting summary comes from that?
Yes. Any meeting you have, mine automatically runs. It captures every meeting that I have. It summarizes it, creates, a summary note for me, and then I can query it from my system at any time. Okay, so what we want to do is make the prompt better. We want to kind of make it consistent. We want to make it something that's beneficial for us. And so what I did was I created this thing that says, hey, give me a prompt. It's going to update our custom instructions in this project. So one thing that you can do in ChatGPT, you may or may not know about it, is you can create a project. And you come over here and you give it a name and you can add custom instructions to that project. And what those custom instructions do is, this is a project here. And as you can see, I have a bunch of chats underneath it. So anytime I create a new chat, it's going to follow those custom instructions. So what I want this project to have is a set of instructions on how to create a meeting summary for me in the way that I care about it. So I wrote this simple, relatively simple prompt. I said, hey, this project will create a summary when a transcript is uploaded. I want to see an executive summary. I want to see people that were on the call. I want to know the companies that were on the talked about. I want to know topics that we discussed. And I want a summary that kind of follows this format. And I want action items, right? And so I have a tiny little template here. It's got the executive summary. It's got people. It's got entities, topics, the summary, and action items with due dates. And so what it did was it said, okay, here's what you can paste into this project. You don't have to go through this process, but again, this is me showing you how you might iterate on building a product. So I copied this. I went into this project settings. I go over to advanced, and here are the custom instructions. And I pasted them into this project. It's exactly what this was here. So now, anytime I create a new item, a new chat like this one, all I did was I uploaded the exact same chat that we summarized earlier, and it created my executive summary. It told me the people that were on the call, if there are any companies, what we discussed, gave me a summary in my format, and it gave me the action items, the things that I'm supposed to do. So the step we've done here is we made a project that we can keep manually dumping our topic or our transcripts into to get the summary that matches kind of what we're looking for and what we care about. Was this straightforward and clean, or you guys have questions on this? Okay. Next up is we're going to start to delegate a little bit more. Now, the first thing we need to do is start connecting to these systems. I want it to automatically and go get the transcript. I don't want to have to cut and paste it in here. So I'm going to connect Google Drive. And so you go into plugins and you're going to search for Drive. And normally it would show up here, but I've already connected it. So mine already shows in the installed bucket here, right? And when you connect it, it's going to pull up a browser window. It's going to prompt you to authenticate. Hey, I want OpenAI and ChatGPT to be able to connect to my Google Drive. You go through that process and you're done. It's literally probably 1 to 2 minutes of effort. Super simple. The other thing we want to do is connect it to our notes. In this case, we're using Craft. Now, Craft doesn't have a built-in plugin, but I want to show you guys that that's okay, because odds are we can build something that will still connect to Craft. So over here, you're going to see a chat that I had already done. The first thing I said, hey, I connected Google Drive, and I said, can you tell me if you see Google Drive? Can you look at the Meet recordings folder and let me know what's in it? All right, so this is me testing that it works. Yep, I can access the Meet recordings folder. Here are the 2 files that I put in there that I showed you guys earlier. So it sees the transcript. It sees them from Google Drive. Then I asked it, I said, hey, I don't see Craft in the plugins section. Is there another way to connect to this? And it said, yep, it's not a built-in plugin that ChatGPT provides, but here's what you need to do to configure it. And what it's going to do is it's going to set up what's called an MCP server. Doesn't matter what that means or what it stands for. The important thing is it tells you how to do it, and it gives you this URL here. So you cut and paste it. You follow the instructions, which is essentially going into settings, going into plugins. And then up here, you'll see here are the plugins where you can configure and change them. And there's MCPs. You go, you create or you add a new MCP server. You give it the information that it said. Here's where you would paste that URL. You give it a name. You click save, and you're done. And so you'll notice that I already have created a Craft MCP server. It's very simple. It's called a Craft MCP, and here's the URL that it gave me. That's all I entered. And then you go through the same process where it's going to say, hey, Craft wants to get access to your ChatGPT. Do you approve this? You approve it. And again, 2 minutes later, now Craft is connected. And if we go back, it says the Craft MCP is configured. Can you tell me if you can connect to it? Yes, connection's working. I connected to Al Space, and it can now be used to research and update craft content. So in a relatively short period of time, we've now connected our Google Drive and we've connected our note-taking and our to-do product. Any questions on this before we move more to the live stuff where we actually start building this system that is going to be automatic? Did the connections make sense? Did the MCP part get confusing?
So when you're going to Google Drive, you're going for the transcriptions, is that right?
Yes, that's the path that I chose because I use Google Meet and it dumps those meeting transcripts into my Google Drive. There could
And
be another product that
ChatGPT knows this is a transcription as opposed to the dozens of other things that might be in the drive?
we're going to teach it that. Okay. Yep. There was somebody else that had a question.
Yep.
Yeah, hi, this is Tamara. So it probably relates a little bit, or maybe to what Roger was just asking. So my biggest concern with going beyond the ask AI questions and get answers is all the stuff that you connect it to and where that dovetails with client privacy and DNAs. A lot of times I have to sign DNAs because we're dealing with either sensitive material or proprietary things. And so when I see like connect to Google Drive or suddenly connect to a server and you're like, well, it doesn't matter what it is, just do it, I get very nervous. So those are where my questions lie about doing
Yep.
anything this kind
Yeah,
of
so
thing.
that's a big topic for maybe the end of this call if we have a little bit of
Okay.
time. The short version is, yeah, if you connect your Google Drive, you can give it read-only access. You can give it certain things. Most of the paid plans, they don't train on the data, which means they don't leverage that data for other purposes. But these are all things you have to consider. And this we could talk for a very long time about what to do and what not to do. But yeah, you have to be aware of the fact that yeah, you're going to be sending data to a remote server that hopefully, as they promised, are doing good things and managing the data properly. But let's see if we have room at the end of this for that, and we can go from there. Any other questions before we continue? All right.
Sorry, I'm just a little confused exactly what craft is.
Craft is this product here
Okay.
that allows you to take note. Well, here, I'll just show it to you. It's a note-taking app, right? So I've
Okay.
created this folder here. You can create a new document, give it a name, take some notes. You can insert photos, pictures, whatever. It is just a note-taking product that I chose to use for this demonstration purpose. It's very elegant. It's nice. It's clean. It's easy to use.
So you're basically going to take all your notes from that you were in your meeting or whatever and clean them up and put them here based
Yes.
on whatever,
Yeah.
function you decide that you want for those.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thanks.
All right. So let's start delegating some stuff here. So first up, I've got a bunch of pre-made prompts that I'll walk you through as it's running here, but we're going to start a new chat. You'll notice here you can switch between chat and work. We want to be using work. And this prompt is I'm going to kind of manually ask it, go get the first meeting from Google Drive, meet recordings folder that we discussed in this project, run our project's custom instructions summarizer, that custom instructions that we configured, that's detailed in the way that we want it, use the craft MCP server that we set up, look for the working directory, tempo al talk, right? That's this folder over here on the left that I created in craft. Create a meeting notes folder if it doesn't already exist underneath that, and then create a new note in that folder for the meeting summary. I want you to title it based on this year, month, day title format and update the note body with the meeting summary. So we're going to run this and it's going to do a bunch of stuff. It's going to connect to Google Drive. It's going to look for it. You're going to be able to see here what it's doing, right? Oh, I'm looking for the Google Drive workflow. And so what it's done is it's kind of built a list of things that it needs to do, and it's going off and is going to do all of those things in order. How many of you have done, while we're waiting, how many of you have used, say, ChatGPT Work or Claude Cowork? Just kind of a quick show of hands for those visually. Okay, we got some of you and some of you have not. So good. So here it says I found 2 meeting recordings, right? The earliest is the 12th. So I'm going to focus on that. You can see over here, it created the meeting notes folder that I asked it to. And it's starting to craft the note itself. Now it's going to go through a process here and it may take a little while. The note is still empty, but it's created that structure. It's got the note in place and now it's probably doing the summarization and processing. Any questions while we wait here for this to finish up? This might take a couple of cycles for it to wrap this up.
So these notes that it's creating is now going to be your meeting notes file, no longer craft. Like it seems, is it redundant? Like you have them, you have the meeting notes in craft, and now you're doing them over here.
No. We are taking just a transcript. Let me show you what a transcript looks like. All right, so if we come over here and I open this guy up, it is word for word what everybody said. Nobody wants this, right? Nobody wants to read this thing, right? What it's doing is it's taking these 18 pages of conversation and summarizing it into something that really quickly shares what this meeting was about, the important pieces. And I'll share the prompts and everything that I have here so you guys can leverage them. But, I wanted to make sure that it doesn't lose any fidelity. It identifies the core conversation topics and then puts sub bullets underneath it. That is what's being put into this right here. So this is the summary, right? There's an executive summary. You can spend time and read this and understand in a very quick paragraph, a couple of sentences, what that meeting was about. You can see the people who were there, what topics were discussed, and then it goes into a little more detail, right? So we had this main topic and a bunch of things below it. This main topic, a bunch of things below it. So it looks like there were 3 main items and 2 action items. 1, get Dave's perspective. Here's why, if there was a due date, coordinate a focused process meeting. These are real meetings, by the way, that I had over the past couple of weeks. And both of these action items are done, by the way, because the system put them on my to-do list and I got them done. So first meeting is done. It's in a pretty good format here. Did that answer your question, Nance? Are you good? Did that help clarify? Okay. So the next thing I want to do is I want the actual transcript to live here as well. Because if I'm querying a conversation later on, I want to know what somebody said. That may not be in this summary. The detail may be in the transcript. So I may come over here and say, hey, now upload the transcript as a file in Craft, label it as transcript with a link to that file below it. So that's going to go through and it's going to go through that process and it's going to insert that transcript. There's another interest. Oh, go ahead. Somebody had a question.
I do. When you create the project, it takes it and gives it an actual memory, a virtual one, but so you don't have to restart it because in ChatGPT it kind of forgets when you get it. So go, yeah, that's right. So it keeps a logical sequence of steps. Yes. When you come back, it picks up where you left off.
Well, this conversation will absolutely pick up where we left off. If I created a new chat and you're using work, you can actually say, hey, read the create first meeting notes and let's talk about that, right? And it will go and read the other conversation. So you can continue conversations in new chats because it'll kind of read through the transcript and get a summary and understanding of what we were working on before. So you can do pretty interesting things like that. Okay, so this says it's done. If I come back to this guy and scroll down, there it is. So now the entire conversation transcript is also in this note for reference. If I ever want to dig deeper and understand, hey, what did they actually say? Another thing that, and this is veering slightly away from ChatGPT and work and those things. This is more of a note-taking benefit. What you can do inside of a lot of these note-taking products is this thing where you kind of bracket them. Whoops. Okay. Why is that not working? Bear with me here. Oh, it does it a little differently. Okay, maybe it's an at. Nope. All right, so Ian. Well, I got to figure out how this product does that. I thought it was like this. There we go. All right, don't know why that wasn't working. But you can provide these links, right? And now, if you go back to your list, sorry, if I click through, oh, that's not working. All right, I'm going to show you this a different way because for whatever reason, that's not working for me. Oops, wrong one. So I'm going to have this run. I'm not going to worry about that. Okay. So I'm going to let that do its thing for a few minutes here. Essentially what this allows, what I'm telling it to do is to link to people, to link to topics, to link to companies. And what that will allow you to do, or what it will do inside of here, is you will have somebody's name or a company or a topic that will show up right here. See, these just showed up as entries. So if I go back to the note, it hasn't done that yet, but it will. Yeah, it's not done yet. Let it finish up here. Here we go. See how this is linked? Development process is linked, product management is linked, release quality, this person's name. If I go back to my folder, I now have entries for each of these things. So I may have a person that I've met with a bunch of times. I can come here and say, oh, when did I meet with them? I've got this meeting. If there were multiple, I would see all the conversations and all the notes that I've taken that reference this person. I can expand it and just click on and boom, I am now in that note where they were referenced. So now you end up with this really interesting work where you could just search for a person and you will be able to see all the notes that were ever taken with them. You will be able to query your LLM later, say, hey, tell me everything about Ian Hickey and all the conversations we've had. And what do I need to know about this person that I met with 3 years ago? Get me up to speed. So it's just another nice way to help organize your notes. And a lot of the new note-taking apps allow for what this is called backlinking, where you're linking to another entity inside of this. Okay.
And do you always go back to ChatGPT to learn about Ian Hickey, or do you put this all somewhere else?
Well, it lives inside of your note-taking app, but I rarely go to my note-taking app anymore because I just use ChatGPT and say, hey, remind me, when did I meet with this person? This name's really familiar. What do I know about them? Tell me something personal about them, right? Like maybe you guys had a conversation about your dogs or your kids or who knows what. It's a nice way to help recall and remember things that are just really hard for humans to remember when we're meeting so many people all the time.
So just from like a workflow and an organizational standpoint, it's sounding like chat almost ends up becoming like another drive, another workspace for you where you have things organized.
It can, yeah, absolutely. Like I go to my agents for just about everything. Whether it's notes or information. I'm hesitant to connect it to emails and things like that for the reasons that were kind of mentioned earlier. But I can connect it to my calendar. I can connect it to my contacts. I can connect it to some of the tools that I use in my task management. Hey, I take notes on our vehicles and repair maintenance and stuff like that. And I can just ask the chat, hey, when was the last time I had this vehicle serviced, right? What's the tire pressure that I'm supposed to run on these bikes? Whatever, like silly stuff like that, because I just put it in the notes. And you can have your chat create the notes for you. So you don't even need to manually create notes if you don't want to. But you can if you want. Okay, so let's see, where are we here? All right. So now what we want to do is we've got this thing. We've sort of taught it where the stuff lives, where the transcripts live. We've taught it where we keep our notes and where we want our summaries to go. We've improved its ability to add a transcript, to backlink for people and topics. That's great, but we don't want to do this every single time, right? What we want to build now is what's called a skill. And a skill takes everything that we just did and builds a repeatable process that a future chat can just go, oh, I'm going to run this skill and I know exactly what to do. So create a skill. I'm going to go ahead and run it and then talk about it. Create a skill that checks for new unprocessed meeting transcripts from Google Drive using the plugin. Runs a basic prompt we've defined. In this project to summarize it, right? Including the attached transcription, the backlinks, right? So we're kind of reminding it what to do. Adds it to Craft in the correct folder using the MCP. It should process only one transcript at a time in chronologic order until all new transcripts are completed. And I want you to name this skill Tempo AI Talk Meeting Summarizer. Okay. What it's doing right now is it's creating that reusable skill that will live in your system. Any questions on what's happening here? I'll show you the skill and all that kind of stuff when it's done.
So you're saying, and what you've been showing us is how you use ChatGPT. In this particular case, this is how I like my notes. I do it in Craft. Watch this and do it for me from now on, right?
Correct. Yep.
Along with however many other plugins. It's not just like you're just showing us one example, but it's a whole universe.
Yes, exactly. That is 100% right. And what we've done to this point, once this skill is done, is gotten to the point where you can say, hey, run this skill. And it will go look for new meetings and it will run our entire process and it will dump them inside of your note-taking product. The thing that we're going to, can you guess what the thing we're going to do after that is? Anyone got an idea? Maybe so we don't manually have to run it every time. We just tell it to run it. We're going to automate it.
So would you set it up to automate every time you have a meeting? That it's like as soon as a transcript goes into your Google Meet transcript file, it'll automatically pull it? Because I know every time I do a project with ChatGPT, you have to be actively in a chat. Well, at least the version I have, it does not run things behind the scenes. You have to.
Yeah. So what we're going to tell this to do, so much more complicated writing code kind of systems will allow you to have it watch a folder for something. We're going to do something similar, but essentially I'm going to trigger this 10 minutes after the hour to run every hour. Or you could do it every 30 minutes if you have 30-minute meetings. But, a little 10 minutes, wait 10 minutes in case the meeting runs long or whatever, give it a few minutes. Then it will go say, hey, any new meetings? No, do nothing. If there are, I'm going to run my skill. While we're waiting, what other questions do you guys have? It could be related to this or anything in general.
Okay.
This
My wife has the most questions when hope I'm not wasting our time. So why do you have Craft if you have Google Note Taker? I mean, you have
I was about to ask the same question.
You have Google transcripts. Like what's Craft got to do with this? It could all just now live in ChatGPT. Why is Craft involved? What am I missing?
Well, it really can't.
Craft makes everything pretty.
Well, it can't just live in ChatGPT because there's no. I mean, if you're if you want to store stuff locally and have this open all the time and it's constantly storing stuff locally on your machine in basic text files as the summary information, sure, you could get away without a note-taking product. But if you want it kind of running in the cloud and you want it sort of automatic and you don't have to have a bunch of systems running for this to work or something along those lines, then you're going to want a place to store this outside of ChatGPT, because ChatGPT's got all your conversations and all your, hey, where's the best restaurant? And, all the random stuff, and it's not organized in any kind of way. You could leave all this in a project, but it's not going to be as good as at sorting through it, figuring out what's important, reading all of those chats that created the summaries individually. It's just not purpose built for that.
I found that ChatGPT is not good to you can't, it's like a big long text chain. You can't find anything. It's very hard to search for things. You have to reteach chat if you're in a conversation of something that you talked to it about it yesterday or whatever. So I understand
right.
why he'd want to pull it to an outside
I
place.
got it. I just got confused earlier when someone said, "Is this like your next drive?" And you're like, "Yeah, I use it as my drive. I don't even really use anything anymore." And I was like, "What?" Okay, so you do use other drives. You do use your craft still because it's way easier to find it, look at it, it's prettier. I'm in.
You could, if you wanted, use Google Drive as the place that stores these summaries. There's nothing saying you can't do that. It's up to you and what you want, right? This is just how I function. I like having a note app that I can go to and add notes manually really easily, make changes, tweaks to the notes if something was wrong. And that's just how I function. But, be creative. Use your workflow, right? You don't have to use a note-taking app. You figure out what your workflow is and work with that. So it created the skill. Let's have a quick look at that, right? We're going to go into settings and we go back to the plugins and you'll see we now have a skill here. And I click on it, Tempo AI Talk Meeting Summarizer. And what it did was it essentially taught itself how to repeatedly, I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but how to repeatedly create a note from the transcript that is in Google Drive. It's kind of pseudocode, right? It's telling itself step by step, here's what I follow over and over and over again. So now we're going to go over here and I'm going to say, please run this skill. And what it's going to do is it's going to see Google Drive. It's going to see there's 2 meetings. It's going to realize it already processed one of them, so it's going to skip it. And then it's going to take the other one and it's going to process it just like it did our first one. Right? So we took that entire conversation that we had where we built a custom summarizer prompt that works for us, right? You guys may want to track completely different things in meetings, right? You may want to gather who is this person, who is that person, specific to event production or whatever it is. Maybe there's technical things you want extracted from it. You can put all of that in your meeting notes prompt. We taught it that we want to do backlinks. We taught it that we want to insert the transcript. And then just from that conversation, we said, okay, perfect. Now create a skill to repeat this. And as you can see here, August 12th notes already complete. It passes our verification checks, so it remains unchanged. There's one that's unprocessed, and that's the one that it's going to do now. So while we're waiting for this, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to automate this while this is running because the skill's already there. And I'm going to do it in a new chat because we can. Because the skill is in your system. And this says, I would like for you to set up a schedule so that this runs at X:10, right? Essentially 10 after every hour. It should simply run the Tempo AI Talk Meeting Summarizer skill, which will find new meetings and update them. So we're going to get this running at the same time. And then once this is done, I'm gonna put another prompt in here in yet another chat, where I'm going to say, using the craft MCP, find the two meanings regarding Marvin planning. What did all three people decisively agree on? Be concise. What did they clearly disagree on, if anything? Be concise. And what were the most profound and impactful direct quotes from each attendee that personify the challenges or solutions that we're having? So this is me saying, okay, remind me a little bit about this meeting. What do we agree on? What do we disagree on? Essentially, we still need to probably talk about. And what were some important things where it's going to dig into the transcript for those? Without me saying dig into the transcript, I said direct quotes. It's going to be smart enough to figure that out. We'll run this after everything's all set up here and the notes are all created. But you can see it's already working on this second meeting. Any questions while we're sitting here waiting for these to finish up? Looks like the summary is done, or the schedule rather is done. So if I go to scheduled up here, Tempo AI Talk, meeting summarizer, right? Run the tempo process, right? It's going to run hourly at minute 10. It's a done deal. So now every hour this thing's going to run, check itself, see where it goes.
All
Any questions?
totally independently of you or whatever computer or device you're on. It's happening out there in the cloud.
So the one that I built here, so if you're using Google Drive and plugins and all the things that are built in, yes, you can run this in the cloud and it will be very good about that. Turns out, and I didn't find this out until late last night because I used Craft for the first time and it requires an MCP server. It's much more complicated to get an MCP server running in the cloud. So this one is going to run locally. But in theory, if you're using something like Notion for notes or some other tool that already has a plugin, it's going to be much more friendly about running in the cloud. Okay, so new meeting created. Here it is. Got companies, got people, all the stuff. Nice summary. Action items, right? Got a lot more action items out of this one. And it created all kinds of new entities, right? There's one for Dave now. There's one for Ian, all the different topics that we discussed. And you can put these wherever you want, but just for the showing this off, I wanted to keep it simple. Okay, so let's ask it to dig in and ask questions. While this is running, that's kind of the end of what I wanted to show you guys. Really in an hour or so or less than that, we've built a system that solves a problem that you can leverage moving forward that might actually be beneficial for you. And there are 1,000 other things that you can probably automate if you start thinking with this mentality of what tools can I connect to, and how do I make this agent do the work for me automatically? I saw somebody raise their hand. Go ahead, Edward.
Hey, so first, thank you so much. That was very enlightening and helpful and useful, and I appreciate every moment of it. So thank you.
Awesome.
And I wonder if I could have you button it by telling me one of the most specific to you examples. So I feel like the example you chose here is a very safe example. We all probably want to have to sit in a meeting and go through these things. What excites me most about the future of AI is the examples I hear from people where it is a super specific, a hyper specific thing to them. Like, I made it do this thing, and I'll give you a quick example. I saw a guy online who took all of the lenses of the cameras that are available to event people, all of the lenses in the projectors, or I'm sorry, all of the all of the dot patterns in all the LED walls, and he was able to make an app that told him exactly what he needed to make his settings so he didn't get moire patterns by filling in what camera he used, what the wall. So that's a hyper specific example that sort of gets me excited. Do you have one that you use, whatever it is in your business, that you're like, this is a new world for us? I could never have done this before.
Yeah, so a very fresh example for me. I just had to move my mom out of her home into independent living. This is a personal one, not necessarily a business one, but um, and she had a ton of, I mean, as you can imagine, a lifetime of things in a 2,000 square foot house where every drawer has got stuff in it, and she had a bunch of old things of, potentially incredible value, and you know, I reached out to a number of um, what do you call them, appraisers, and I'm just doing all this work manually trying to talk to these people. And I thought to myself, well, I'm taking pictures of all this stuff. It's in Google Photos. Uh, what if I have this thing run, and every time I put a new photo in this folder, I have it do individual deep dive research on every single item, tell me what it is, what the market is looking like, what it might be worth on the market, on and on and on and on. And I did it for hundreds of items, and for like books as well. She has a library full of like some rare books and really interesting books and things like that. And it processed every single one of them. It gave me a summary at the end of it that was kind of like, hey, here are your top items. And it kept that as a rolling list. Anytime I add something new, it would insert that as an item wherever it fit from a potential value. It would tell me, what it was, what the probable value was in a range based on the quality of it and things like that. So that's an example of something where I went hands off because it was so expensive to get appraisers and these auction houses and all this stuff involved. And it helped me really just identify, oh, this is worth $100. This is worth $500. But it could be worth, $1,500 if it had this little tiny tweak to it or this little thing on it. So that was a pretty exciting one for me that just saved me hours and hours and hours of headache and time. Julie?
Hey, one thing that I was talking to a coworker about was he uses AI to help automate email stuff and create like, automatic responses or stuff like that. And email is a huge thing for me. And I'm sure a lot of you who get a lot of emails that you don't need to read or care about, or hey, just put this stuff like that's mostly garbage in another place. And I know some email programs already will separate it to stuff, but then I'm always afraid that I'm going to miss something since some people, I haven't talked to in years, and then all of a sudden they're calling me for a job. So for me, what do you use, or do you use something to help uh, almost be like an executive assistant to go through emails? Or do
Yeah.
you?
So before I answer that question, I want to show the response here, and then I'll close this out so we can have full screen
Mhm.
pictures. But uh, everybody agreed on these things. There was no clear disagreement, but there was some, unsolved stuff. And then it dug up quotes, right? What are the most impactful quotes? So it has full access to all this. And imagine if you had 3 years worth of notes, which I do. I have years and years and years worth of me taking notes manually, and now I do it automatically. I can query any of that stuff. And so for me, it's hugely beneficial. Um, okay, so I'm going to stop the share here so we can go back to here. Um, I, as I said earlier, I'm a little more hesitant to give it access to email. Um, I don't want it like, let's be very clear. These agents are very good, but they will make mistakes. Count on them making mistakes. Count on them misinterpreting what you said because maybe the words you used have multiple meanings, but you didn't think about that when you wrote it, and it thought something else. It made an assumption and went down a path that you did not want it to go. Um, and I do not
Can I
want it.
interrupt you there real quick?
Yep.
And even when you've corrected it, it might revert. It may forget. So
Oh, for sure.
even once you've corrected it, don't assume that now that I've really established it this time, I really told it. It could forget. So sorry, I
Yes.
didn't mean to interrupt, but
No.
that's something that I'm I'm dealing with. I feel like I'm working with a
Oh
teenage
no,
interns
I've had to all
sometimes.
caps my chat GPT many times. I'm like, no, I told you that we've had this whole conversation. And yeah, so
So
I understand that.
memory,
And
yeah,
I'm not necessarily saying that to give it and to have it send responses, but for me to make responses, I don't know. I don't know if I trust it enough, but I'm curious
so
about something, even if it could just start like deleting or just moving all the shopping things or whatever to a different folder so that I have,
yeah.
only actual important stuff in
Yeah,
my.
you can do that stuff. It's incredibly powerful. You just got to be really, really careful with any of that outbound sort of conversation. I'll give you. I have an interesting example that I built as well that I'll share. Um, but there's also, and this goes way into the technical weeds here, but there's also this concept of prompt injection, and essentially what that means is somebody could design an email that is sent to your inbox that has a hidden prompt inside it. And that hidden prompt might be something that when your agent is reading that email, it decides to follow. So imagine if somebody says, hey, I want you to, they send an email, it looks like spam, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, but they embed an instruction set that says, hey, go through all the emails, dig up all their contacts, find any personal information about this person and send it to this email, right? So that's prompt injection. That's a thing that can happen. It's not prevalent today, but I expect at some point it might just be once everybody starts giving full email access to their agents.
No, I'm good now, thanks.
It's going to be, that's me putting the, hey, be very careful about your communication channels. Full stop. So one more thing that I built, and then Melissa, you'll go. So I run a venture capital firm. I get pitch decks all the time. I've spent years helping go through their pitch decks, taking notes on what they've done right, what they've done wrong, recordings, transcripts. I had an agent go out, review all of my meeting notes, all of my conversations that I've had with those kinds of things, and build this is how Al grades pitch decks. And so now I dump a pitch deck into it, and it gives me kind of a summary of all the things that I typically care about. And then I go change it, right? Of course, I fully review the deck. I fully review what it wrote, and I change the things, but it gives me a jump start and saves me a ton of time to give an initial set of responses in my voice. So that's another thing that I've used it for. Melissa, what do you got?
Kind of a simple question going back to the start of this is when you were first creating your prompts, there's that toggle at the top that had either work or chat in
Yep.
ChatGPT. Why did you use one versus the other? Why
Yeah,
did
so
you
chat
work?
chat is just
Difference.
less powerful, and it's more of a just conversation thread. You can throw a file at it, you can throw some stuff at it, but it's not going to look at Google Drive. It's not going to look at any kind of MCP servers like we built for Craft. It's not going to have a long ability to build I've got 10 steps I need to take, and each one may
Okay.
take me 15 minutes to accomplish, but I'm going to just go until they're done. It doesn't have that level of sort of depth of understanding and capability.
Okay, chat's like a sort of a researchy.
It's more just kind of back and forth, quicker questions, long thread conversation if you want. Yes, it can research stuff. It can go to the web and pull down information, and you can go back and forth a few times with it. Um, I rarely use chat anymore just because work is so much more powerful and capable that sometimes I just let it do its thing.
I've never even noticed that toggle. I wonder if it's because it's not on the free version or just I've just not noticed.
Probably. Yeah, it's
Probably not on
probably
the free. Yeah. Okay.
somebody else.
Oh, and then also I had a question earlier in the comments. Can you change the text in work to make it bold or colored or a different font, italics, whatever? Can you manipulate the text or is it just what you're seeing?
Do you mean how it responds to you or how you're typing?
I guess either one. Can you go in there and say, make all the action items red?
Oh, yes, 100%. Whatever formatting is supported in the destination you're delivering, you can do all of that, right?
Okay.
That's what that prompt is for, where it's, I gave a template that was super simple, like I want executive summary and I want this, and I
Right.
want these to be bullets, like you could do whatever you want, right? You
Okay.
can tell it, I want to look, give it an example. That's the best way to do it. Build what you want and say, make it look like this. It can even be a picture. You can give it the picture, say, this is what it needs to look like in Craft or in my note taking app, and it'll figure out how to make it work.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, Al, there
Barb.
was a question, and I think you answered it a little bit, but it's in the chat, and she says, "Is it dangerous to allow ChatGPT or Claude to access our files?" You talked about that for a hot second.
Yeah. Email, I would say, is a little riskier. Um, Files is it's less risky because you can tell it, I want you to go to this folder and do this thing. It may make a mistake and it may go somewhere it's not supposed to. Um, the other thing you can do, and this is getting a little heavy, but say you create an agent account in Google Workspace. You give it its own account. And then what you can do is you can share files with it like you would any other human.
Okay.
So now it only has access to what's in its Google Drive and what's been shared with it. That's one way to really hard restrict what it has access to.
That's a nice one.
Yeah, and it's great. Like I've done that with some of my stuff where I only want it to have access to a folder, and I don't care what it does with that folder. I will make changes in my account, and it has access to it in its own account. And so instead of connecting, when you go to Google to connect it to an account, you don't connect it to yours, you connect it to that custom agent account that you created.
You keep talking about Google Drive, but I'm assuming Dropbox, Box, various others. It's not agent.
Yes.
It's not platform specific.
Not at all.
And then Al, just to fill us all in, you did the surveys with Tempo. Did you learn a lot of people were using it for other things event related? Did you get any information from that? Because somebody's kind of asking, more events specific.
Yeah, so I sent out a second survey. I'm going to ping in a couple more times. We got 2 or 3 responses to people who are kind of building things for the event production industry. I felt like when we decided to do this and when I got the initial survey of what everybody's capabilities were, it was a little all over the map, and I wanted to try and advance everybody a little bit before we had something that was a little more complicated, which is what it seemed like some people had built. So I would love to get 3, 4, 5 people who have built something that's event production specific, have them come in and present for 10 minutes each thing that they built. Depending on how much time we have and how it works out. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to next.
I have a really simple question about the work versus chat piece of it. If you like, I have a ton of stuff in chat. I've never used I've got the $20 version. So I've got a ton in chat. I haven't used work. If you're in a project and you've been using chat and you switch to work, is that like restarting a conversation, or does it continue in the same like back and forth that you've started? Like if
Yeah,
I've queried a bunch of stuff and then I go to work, does it erase that or start new?
No. So there's subtle variations in how, say, ChatGPT and Claude work. If I remember correctly, I think you can change in Claude. I think you can change mid conversation between work and I could be wrong about this. In ChatGPT, once it's a chat, it is a chat. Once it is work, it is work. But you can have a chat inside a project and work inside a project, and it's fine.
And if you have a chat inside of a project, if you're in work, you can tell it to refer to that chat.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
So like now seeing what work can do, if I want to switch to work for a
Yes.
project, I can be like, read these as references.
Yeah.
And then
You create a new session and you click on work inside, you create a new session inside that project. You click work and say, hey, get yourself up to speed on whatever chats I've already had. And it will do that. And you can continue from there.
got it.
Looks
Thank you.
like,
That's really helpful.
oh, thanks. Yeah, it looks like Claude is the same from the chat. Looks like once it's a chat or a co-work. So unless we have any other questions, I'm happy to stay as long as you guys want. I would love to know like, was this truly helpful? Was this, and even if you say, hey, you know what, I've kind of done this before, it was a little bit of repeat, that's fine. I just love a little bit of feedback to know, was this, did I learn something? Did you guys learn something? Or was, this fairly repeat for some of you?
This is all new information for me. I had no idea. I just use it as my therapist.
And I can see a great example because I'm interviewing you all the time. I interview freelancers every single day and I get their background and I take those little notes inside Airtable. But instead, I should take transcripts. I should do, and I could go back like I'm meeting a freelancer tomorrow and it's like we met we met last year. We did a one-on-one call and I took really crappy notes. So now I'll be able to know, oh, this is Gary and oh, Gary does graphics. Gary's also an LD. Like it'll be so fun when I start using it to help me help you and find
Yes.
you, when I get calls for work and or even sales calls when I'm talking to clients and if I have them in my CRM, my notes for my sales calls, but now I know better to take better notes, have transcripts, and then it'll help so much with sales too, finding clients, I think, to look them up and yeah.
Yeah, it was helpful to see. It was helpful to see you build it in real time to sort of see the steps that you went through and some of the prompts that you used.
Good.
And this
Yeah, and I
call's
can share. I can
recorded.
share all that stuff too.
Yeah, and it's recorded, so I'll do the thingy that I do and drop it into the YouTube so we can actually pause it and then act and then that's what I need to do is I need to like watch it, pause it, do the work, go,
Yeah.
watch. Call my brother-in-law. Ain't working.
See some comments in there. Good. All right. Was anybody bored? Feel free to jump in. Tell me. Bored. Was it too complicated at times? Because it can be. It's a little clunky these days. It's better than it used to be, that's for sure. Even just a few months ago.
It feels like with all AI, it really relies on your prompts. Like it relies on you knowing what to say and what your end product needs to be. I think there's a lot of language learning in that. And I guess as you go along, it's a conversation with you in chat where it spits something out and you're like, actually, maybe it would be better like this. But you
Yeah.
use some language that I would never know to say like, use this plugin to program a la la la. I don't speak like you do.
Right. Yeah, and
So,
I think a lot of the challenge that people have is they just don't know what they don't know.
right.
Um, and once you get exposed to something, which is why I love doing these kind of talks, is somebody's like, "Oh, interesting. I didn't realize that was possible." And then they can run. I remember when this was, gosh, maybe, I don't know, a year or two ago, I told Nancy about this Zap product, or I don't remember what it was, but all of a sudden she went and built her own Zap and it took this thing from over here and moved it over there. And I was blown away that she did it because, normally she calls on me to do those things. But it was just that exposure to, oh, this thing exists. How can I use it? And that's what we're trying to do today.
Do you have a course, like one of those free online courses you would recommend, like Claude Cowork 101? I mean, they pop up all the time on social media, like do this one. They're all over YouTube, so it gets a little overwhelming. Like, do you know of one that's a really good one to focus on, whether it's
Um,
LinkedIn Learning or
yeah, I don't. If anybody else on here
yeah,
does,
anybody?
some people posted in the general channel to my
Oh, maybe
notification.
I'll ask there.
There were two or three. I think there were two different people she called out that have good courses that she's used.
Hmm,
So maybe check that thread out. I'll see if I can call that out as well.
thank you.
Jay just posted something in the chat as well.
That's
Um,
Anthropics. That's their official learning channel, and it's actually pretty good.
Thank you.
Hey, somebody had asked about privacy and security and NDAs and all kinds of things like that. Jay, you had pinged me saying you'd be willing to
Yeah.
chat about a little bit. Do you want to take a little bit on that? We can have a little conversation about
I can
the
be quick
risks.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, 3 types of information. Personal secrets like people's emails, phone numbers, credit cards, social security numbers, API keys. That's your first category. Second is client intellectual property, like what their stage designs are and whatever, how their internal processes and stuff work. And the third is stuff that's not important, like casual emails back and forth and nothing that could be considered critical or incriminating in any way. So the problem is you got to keep the first type entirely away from your LLMs because they may remember them. So any kind of personal information, like emails end up in there, and that is, you can't help that. But things like credit card numbers, social security numbers shouldn't get anywhere near your Claude or ChatGPT or the files that they can read. So that's the first piece I would worry about. The second thing is for your contracts with your clients, I would encourage you to include a component that says that you will be using their IP inside of an LLM. You'd be explicit about it and get them to license it. And the language that you want to include in there is that we explicitly have turned off the training data switch, which you can find in the configuration. And every one of these companies publishes how long they retain the non-training info for us. So some it's 30 days, some it's 45, and just tell your clients how long it'll remember it for. And so, because it's either you can be less efficient and not use the LLM, or you can be efficient and let them know how their privacy is protected with using it. And then, of course, the third kind, where it's not anything that's critical or sensitive, that's not something I worry about letting the LLM see. So again, secrets should never go into the LLM, shouldn't get to read any file that has secrets in it. Number two, IP, whether it's yours or theirs, turn off the training switch. It dissolves after 30, 45 days, something like that. Again, I would make it explicit with your clients so they know that you're going to do that and they can't be surprised or say anything. And then, of course, third is just the rest of the crap that doesn't make any difference. And that is my TED Talk on LLMs and security.
Awesome.
Is that good? Did I miss anything?
No, that was great. Thanks for doing that. Somebody had asked what an LLM is in the chat, and
Oh,
the short
sorry.
version is it's a large language model. It is what every AI is today. It's the technology behind ChatGPT and Claude. So you may hear somebody say LLM, and they're just referencing the technology.
Yeah, sorry about that. LLMs, it's like as soon as they get smart as like HAL 9000, then I'll call them AIs. But right now, what we use is it's the word guessing machine is really what it is. And so, yeah, it's a large language model is what the technology is called. So I feel compelled to call it that. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else from anyone?
I'm just dropping into the chat. A client that I've worked with actually put together, I wouldn't call it a white paper, I'd call it a guide, but it's a really good piece about how to think, especially for freelancers and small businesses, about how to think about working with AI and some of the fixes. Jay, it really aligns with what you were just talking about with different kinds of information and privacy. So when you said that, it made me think of it. So I just thought I would pass it along.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Did you drop it in the chat or?
Yeah, I just dropped it in and it's uploading.
Oh,
And it's one of those things that they're like, yeah, spread this
Gotcha.
far and wide. So it's something that is meant to be shared.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so
Fantastic.
there will be a part two, maybe. Do some more polling and querying with the tempo and see who's using products, how they're using it. I'll tell you this. We've had 5 freelancers approach me, and Al sat through a couple of meetings asking to show their product that they've built. And it's retirement software, invoicing software, project management software. It's kind of fun to watch. People are building things. Freelancers are finding a lot of ways to do some of our back end paperwork to make it simple. So I know that's been happening because they keep asking to show me to show you all. And so that's kind of cool. I'm good with that.
Is it okay
But I'm
if
not
I
showing
add-
you all until
Sorry.
we vet them and we know the product is good. What's up?
I was going to say, is it all right if I had a note to one of the earlier questions, which I have now taken more time than it would have taken me to respond to? Just in the question, talking about how to get the products to talk to you in a way that you want, whether it's more color, more icons, bold. My biggest problem is that they're so verbose, and that like I get more and more tired from all of the text that I'm having to read to get to the proper questions. the one piece of advice that I have around that is steal. Go look, like a Google what other people are doing around getting the products to be less chatty or be more colorful or be more explicit, and just go to Google and say like, put in those questions. The other thing you can do is you can make the products go find their own solutions, but demand that they provide you links so that it doesn't make up stuff and say like, oh, here's the solution. Like make it find you stuff from influencers or published documentation and that sort of thing. And then instead of trying to figure it out from scratch, because there is so much